Hi, I'm Betsy Beers, and I'm the executive producer of Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, and The Catch, or as we like to call it, TGIT, the Shondaland block of shows on Thursday nights on ABC. And I'm so happy to be joining you guys again. I've missed you over the past week that I wasn't blabbing in your ear over strange podcast vessels. Because actually, I'm here today with somebody who you all know and who I know you all adore the same way that we do, and actually came straight from set when she could have gone home, but she came here to sit in my office with me and have a conversation about my favorite topic, Grey's Anatomy, and that would be the lovely Jessica Capshaw, who, of course, plays Dr. Arizona Robbins.
That's me.
That's you, Arizona Robbins, you! Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for doing this.
That was the first thing I knew about my character was my name.
I was just about to actually bring that up. I remember
First thing I knew
was like Arizona Robbins.
And I mean, imagine if you're waiting. I mean, I was waiting with bated breath because you know how much I wanted to be on the show.
We wanted you on the show.
And I mean, I remember calling my agent, Rick, and being like, did you talk to Betsy? Did you talk to Betsy yet? Did you talk to her today? Did you talk to her? Are you going to talk to her next week? And I got an email from the production office with my name, which was Arizona Robbins. I was at my sister's freshman year parents' weekend. I went with them to go see her because she was also going to the same school that I went to. We were at dinner, and I got the email on my BlackBerry. Now I'm an iPhone girl, but it was my BlackBerry back then.
I had the BlackBerry then,
the dear, sweet BlackBerry.
I loved it with the little
so
buttons
sweet
there. Plus I could
I know, and it was fast on that thing.
I was so freaking fast, man.
Yeah, Brick Breaker too, by the way.
Brick Breaker changed my life too. I know.
Well,
I still miss Brick Breaker
all the hours of my life it sucks. Looked at my BlackBerry, saw my name, rushed into the dinner that they were having. Meanwhile, I was really trying to have it be all about my sister that weekend because, you know, there's 7 kids and it just didn't need to be about me. But I pulled my mom aside, my mom and dad. I was like, okay, so my name is Arizona Robbins. And at that point, everyone was so excited that I was so excited about doing it that they were in the true parental passionate moment were like, yay! Meanwhile, I was like, I mean, it's just a name. We were super excited about it. And I guess, Hammer, Mark
Wilding.
Yes. Because he's so often called Hammer, I always go is his name Mark Hammer or Mark Wilding? Anyways, Mark Hammer Wildling. I made him a Wildling. Now he's on Game of Thrones.
Which is awesome. He's so happy to be on Game of Thrones because winter's coming. And he's happy.
He's going to get, yes. He said, I guess he's got 2 boys, and he said if he ever had a girl, that he and his wife tossed around the idea of naming the daughter Arizona, is the story he told me. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he sold me. And maybe he then sold it to Shonda.
I don't think he's a liar. And
great. So there you go.
And as we all know, you guys, we called Mark Wilding the Hammer because he's not. He's a really, really nice guy. Although when he gets pissed off, he actually is very Hammer-like. He's terrifying.
I've seen him a little riled up.
And also because
there's a little winter in him.
There's a little bit of winter is coming in him. Exactly. And he gets all red.
Yes,
he flushes all red and becomes very British Isles on your ass.
You're making me miss the Hammer.
See, it's like the Hammer's out there. He's around.
Pete Nowak.
And Pete Nowak. I know. She's pointing to this book on my coffee table in my office, which Pete Nowak wrote, you guys, before I met him. And it's the Assistant's Handbook. It's a guide to being an assistant in Hollywood. And it's hysterical. And he wrote it with another assistant. I think he gave it to me when we first started working together, and I was so impressed that he was so multifaceted.
He also was a fellow graduate of Brown University.
Yes, he was. Fine school.
Fine school.
Very fine school. Look what it produced.
Yeah, there you go.
Before we keep going, I want everyone to know that Jessica's looking gorgeous today in a blue sort of denim color shirt with its button down.
Yeah, it is a button down.
It's got a little country in it.
It does.
Just a tiny bit, because she's got some white buttons going on there.
Yeah, it is. It's produced by Gwyneth Paltrow, so a little country
and a little bit of a cap sleeve.
A little bit.
You've got the Gwenny thing going, which is it's an interesting combination of stylistic attributes.
Exactly,
and it works.
Proportions.
In a pair of cute white jeans that might be kind of almost capri length.
They might be a little cropped.
A little bit, a little cropped.
Yep.
And then I'm going to tell you guys, these shoes are kind of like balls out freaktastic. These shoes are fancy.
They're a talking point. Justin Chambers had a really good time talking about them this morning.
They are the Gucci.
They are the Gucci.
They are the Gucci, but not only are they the Gucci, but they're loafers, and the heels, you guys, have big freaking pearls all the way around them.
Not real ones.
Which I hope they're not real, because that would be super worrisome. But they're great pieces of costume pearlery, and they're pretty amazing.
They make me happy.
They made me. You walked in the first thing. I didn't even look at your face. I was like,
nope, just the shoes.
Look at the kicks on that girl.
It's true.
My gosh,
it's true.
So this episode is kind of the first episode that you and Nathan Riggs, another guy, by the way, who was totally stymied by his name, Martin Henderson.
I have such a good time working with Martin Henderson.
Those scenes in this episode with you two were so cute.
Hysterical. He makes me laugh.
Doesn't he?
Yes, he's very, very funny.
In this really odd, dry way.
I laugh at him.
That's the fun of Martin Henderson.
Yeah, and he'll take it.
No, that's the fun of Martin Henderson.
Yeah.
You just laugh, you make fun of him, and he enjoys it immensely.
And then he kind of gets this like nose crinkle and everything gets all squished together.
His face all squishes towards his mouth, and it's super entertaining.
But he's a good sport about it, you know? I had this joke with him about age. I just kind of kept poking the bear and telling him that I thought that when I first met him, I thought he was like, no, but Bart, I thought you were like, aren't you about to be like 50? And he was red hot pissed.
This is a Ross Holland. That's really funny.
And he was like, no. Everything about him was not happy about that. But he was trying to be graceful about it. So
he tries so hard. I mean, I've given him such crap about things every once in a while. And he's so gracious about stuff. Like, he's strangely nice.
He's the nicest.
He's the nicest man in Nicetown. Like, he really is. And you guys are really funny together in this episode, I think. I love the interaction with you and Maggie. And I mean, everyone's really hard on Maggie in this episode because Maggie's just trying to get over the death of her mom.
I know.
She didn't screw up that surgery. She just was waiting a beat. You got all up in her face about that.
I was kind when we were actually doing it because I said, this is not right, guys. Why am I yelling at her? And
you were kind. You're kind and firm.
All right.
You're kind and firm.
That's an Arizona move.
But also, you keep cutting to the gallery, and everyone's super concerned with good reason. What's great about this episode is you understand every single person's point of view, and you don't really side with anybody. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like that whole thing with like Richard discovering that you're having essentially an illicit relationship. Mm-hmm. I understand everyone's points.
I know.
I got to tell you, I think this thing with Bailey and Richard is just, it has dragged on a bit. And I was glad to see that sort of got put to bed too.
Yes, that they're back.
They're eating together.
Yes, because they're so good together.
We
need them together. They're like
also the best comedy routine I've seen.
Oh my gosh. He doesn't even, I get a little aggravated with him because he doesn't even have to try.
I know,
to
he
be
just
funny.
stands there.
Yes, he just says his line. He did nothing. He puts no shoulder into it. Sometimes I do some seriously heavy lifting. Him, nothing. Got nothing. He does not break a sweat.
Nothing makes me crack up harder to table read than Richard Weber.
Because he's kind of like, he plays like the straight man where it's like, he's sort of impervious to everyone else's. Again, we just all have to do so much more work. He does nothing and he's just funny. He's just funny.
It's just crazy.
But his nothing is something.
It's crazy. Now, we just celebrated a big, big anniversary. We just celebrated the 12-year anniversary of being on the air.
Wow. Isn't that nuts?
It's kind of nuts.
I remember watching the pilot. I watched it. I don't even think I watched it on TiVo. I think I watched it in real time with my husband. And I was saying to the ladies earlier, we both watched it and went, this is our new show. We're totally going to watch this show together. It's going to be appointment television because it was Sunday night.
That's right.
And we loved it.
Yeah, I remember watching it too. I had a slightly different experience. But
having a heart attack?
I had some friends over and we watched it and I was communicating with Shonda throughout the pilot. And then my job the next day was to get the ratings and call Shonda and tell her what the ratings were. And I took my job very seriously, and I looked at the ratings, and I had no idea what they meant. So I called my ex-husband, who used to write TV, and his idea of the ratings were 10 years old. So he heard the ratings, and he went, oh, this is really, really bad. So I called Sean, and I said, I don't think they're very good. She said, really? And so we started looking at them over the phone, and she said, it's so weird, my cell phone keeps ringing. I said, I know, mine's ringing too. But anyway, okay, so maybe if we did this, and this, and she said, no, really, it's ringing. It's like, keeps ringing. And she picked up the phone and everybody was like, these ratings are really good. So I never spoke to my ex-husband about ratings again, needless to say, because he was freaking wrong.
Well, he was super wrong.
He was 10 years old wrong.
In an important moment.
In an important moment where I think he was expecting us to get like a 12 or something. I have very, very distinct memories and also being so pleased that anybody watched it because we had no idea that anybody was going to watch it.
So we were super
psyched.
I watch it every year.
Right?
Yeah, I watched it. This year actually was interesting because I watched it again. And I watched it just because I like to remember what show I loved so much that I wanted to become a part of and everything else. But then this year I did something different too, which is I went back to the beginning of my character.
That's what I was going to say you should do.
The first couple episodes of my being on the show. And it was actually really, my husband came in when I was doing it and he's like, what are you doing? Like, you don't get enough of yourself? Why are you doing this again? And I said, no, honey, I don't get enough of myself. No, but I watched it.
Because you're always around.
Yes, exactly. Leave me and myself alone.
No, just 10 seconds so I can enjoy myself for 10 seconds. Jeez.
Gosh. So I watched it again, and I actually felt like it was incredibly, incredibly valuable.
So do you, when you think about that, so How do you feel about your character now? How do you feel like your character's changed? When you look at yourself now versus then, what do you come up with in your big brain?
This season has been an incredible opportunity to go back to who she started as. There has been so much that's happened. This season felt different in that it felt as though we left last season thinking and imagining that in Shondaland, that the beautiful partnership that was Callie and Arizona left in a really good place.
Yeah.
That you could actually be happy and imagine that in Shondaland, Callie was in New York in a successful and meaningful relationship that we'd all seen and also championed and had this wonderful life. And there is Arizona left to also, perhaps now, get on with her life and find her joy, find her happiness, maybe fall in love, maybe a lot of things. But all of it just had a lot of potential and there was a lot of promise. And that's how I felt about the beginning of playing her. So when I went back to the beginning, I wanted to see how I had started her with all that promise. And not knowing, because again, you have to remember, although, I mean, it's like the same story over and over again. When I came, I had no idea how long I was going to stay. I had no idea who I was meant for. Justin Chambers and I both thought that I was heading for him at the time. So it was all like a big guessing game. Like no one knew what was going to happen. And you look back on those episodes and there's a beauty to not knowing what's going to happen and sort of being able to live in that and honor that. So it was really fun. I loved watching it. So I feel like that's informed this season for me as far as how I played it.
I keep thinking I love this season because I do believe like this season was, and last season in a different way, but it's like everybody's sort of getting a reboot. And the sisters who are like living together, like Callie and Arizona had this profound relationship, but there was so much baggage. Yeah. I mean, between like the car crash and the baby and the leg and the, resentment and the fact that all these trust issues, and it's sort of like they grew up together in a relationship and then they went off to have, as you said, with Callie, she's gone off to have hopefully a happy relationship, and Arizona gets to have fun again.
Yeah.
Which, God bless her in her cotton socks. She deserves some fun.
Yes, I think so.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, many people have many questions for you.
What are they?
Oh, so many.
Let's talk about them.
Let's talk about it. Sarfat Igron.
I'm sure you pronounced that correctly. I'm sure you did not pronounce that correctly.
The fun of this is listening to me mispronounce people. Sarfatagron wants to know, what do you most want to see Arizona doing that she hasn't done yet?
I would like to see... Another episode that I went back and watched was the birthday episode where she loses Sweet Wallace. It's not fun. That's not the right word. It's very satisfying to have storylines where I get to play her being challenged, sort of doing the background research of how to figure out that challenge, and then tackling that challenge, and then whether it's a victory or a loss, playing those things. So it's not very concrete, but I do love when she gets the sort of meaty medicals and can sort of deconstruct them, and then I really like when she's personally invested in the medical.
That was one of the great things, I think, about the Gina Davis guest arc.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my favorite things in the history of the show. The relationship between you two and that. It was really fun watching Arizona learn. Mm-hmm. And also just continually have to challenge yourself and rise to the occasion. And sometimes on this show you forget with the more experienced doctors, because everybody seems like they know what they're doing, that there are these learning curves, which I just think is really, really fun to watch.
Yeah.
And that's another time where I sort of felt like she totally transformed how she did her job because she was able to absorb what was around her, which was, and you guys were just hysterically funny anyway.
I know, we had so much fun. I know, and I think that actually that learning curve, you have to check with someone who really knows these things, but I think that Arizona is at present the most highly decorated / board certified
I believe she might have
on the show.
I think she might have.
She has like 75.
She might have beat Addison because
Yeah.
Addison had
I
5.
Still actually know what department I am. Like, am I now?
I think.
Am I neonatal?
You could kind of do anything.
I could do anything. I could do it.
I think rocket scientist.
Because now Karev has peds, so I don't know. I float. I do lots of stuff. I'm a floater.
You're just a professional smarty pants.
Floater.
That's basically what you are.
Yeah, that's me.
So, Jacopedia. I'm not wearing my glasses.
Wrong emphasis on the syllable.
Jacopedia at Jacopedia wants to know, if you had to play a flashback episode and explore something from Az's past, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. Well, I guess if you had a time machine, wouldn't you have loved to see her in, like, high school?
Oh, my God. That would be so great.
Can you imagine?
That would be so great.
It would have to be fun. So
you could play yourself.
Time machine.
a number of people sort of like McDimples also really leaned into this one too, who's a big fan.
Well, and by the way, just to put a little spin on the reason I think I would love to see her in high school is because I would love to see someone, what I love about Arizona, and I also struggle with because I figure that there's no way that there's such a person that exists, but she's so confident about everything. But like truly from the very beginning, her sexuality, there's never been a moment of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't want to be this. Maybe someone's going to think something of me because I am this. Like, it's just been with 100% certitude that she exists, she is, and there's zero problem about it. It's just nothing. It's just always been with such ease. And so I would love to see that person in high school, because high school is where you're so rife with lack of confidence or figuring out who you are and everything else. So I wonder what that was like for her, if she just always had it,
That's really interesting. It's true, because most of us, that's where the die is cast for most of us in terms of how we deal with conflict and obstacles. I've just always had this feeling like Arizona popped out of the womb.
Fully formed.
With her little fists clenched, like going, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how this happened, but I'm game.
She's game.
And I know what I like, and I know what I want to do.
Yep.
Lex at Calzona's Remedy wants to know favorite episode of the season. Olive also wants to know that.
I quite liked doing the prison episode because it was just sort of outside the box.
I love the prison episode so much.
And I love working with Chandra and Camilla so much. So it was nice to have we were like a little satellite, and it was nice to have sort of a small.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't keep that up with my 4 children at home, but it was really fun to do.
So you guys, what happened with that episode is there have been a number of episodes a season where people have actually done the lion's share of the episode. And normally on a Grey's Anatomy episode, we sprinkle many different plot lines through. But on these really, really concentrated ones, the actors who are at the center of it really, really have to work long hours. And so that was a lot for you, as I remember.
Yeah, but we had fun.
Melissa Lynn wants to know, Mayor Than Trash, just great. What was your favorite thing about Ellen Pompeo directing?
Oh my gosh, she was so incredible with the actors. She has a different access point because of what it is that she has been trained to do and what she has the experience in being really good at. And so when she was talking to you about what she wanted in a scene, she just had a completely different vocabulary. She wasn't a director first, she was an actor first. She had thought about how she wanted the scenes to go, and she understood the geography of them. But then when she came in with the intention, she had a much more specific way of saying, like, this is what I want. And the way she did it really, really helped you understand. And I gotta say, I just love that girl. And when someone that you care about wants something to do well and gives you a direction, you just have a different feeling about it. There's a shorthanded, so you're like, yes, whatever you want, yes.
Yeah, she directed the hell out of that thing.
Oh, so fantastic.
She's so funny, and she's so sort of self-deprecating about it, too. Because after I saw her, I kind of reached out, I was like, oh my God, this was amazing. And she was like, yeah, lucky, huh? Which I was like, no. You did a really good job, lady.
I know.
Like, bottom line, really super talented. Camilla L. News at Camilla L. News wants to know, what's it like working with Marika?
I love working with Marika. I know Marika. I've known her for a long time. I met her because of Scott, her husband. And
that's television Scott Foley.
That's television Scott Foley. And we had hangouts, dinners with the kids and this, that, and the other. I love her. She's got opinions, and she's smart, and she's strong, and she's funny, and she's self-deprecating, and she's beautiful, and she's just a whole lot of stuff. And so when she came to work on the show, I was really excited because, when you're playing in a relationship with someone, you like to think, oh, I can do this with anybody, right? Like, you can make anything work. But it's so much nicer when you have like a really great, fun person that's like game to do it all. And she couldn't have been more thrilled to be here. And she was so excited about the job. And I really obviously tapped into that because that's how I felt at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way now. But, just that excitement and just feeling really lucky to have this be your job.
She's such a funny girl, too.
She's very funny.
She's really funny. We came very close to casting her in a pilot last year, and we all got to see her work kind of because she auditioned a few times, and Shonda and I both like totally fell in love with her. It was one of those things where I loved her as a person anyway because we'd hung out with her, but you see this totally other side because she's super balls out as an actor.
She is.
Like, she's no fear. Simple Thought Better at Hunt McKidd wants to, can you describe Justin Chambers in one word?
I can't in one word. He's lovable. Lovable would be a good word. He's so dear. He's so kind. He's like a big brother. He's like a little scallywag. Like, you could totally get into trouble with him. And he was one of the first people that I worked with. I have such a dear place, in my heart for him. And I think he's just lovable. He's great.
I got to say, Justin Chambers, I do not know one person
who doesn't love him.
I've ever met who doesn't love him.
It's true.
Because he is just pure joy to me. Like
he is.
He is.
He totally is.
He's super non-judgy. He does yell at me because I swear too much. That's the one thing I will give him. But he's just like, why do you do that?
He's also, he like I said, he gets into trouble. He giggles. We sit next to each other at table reads.
You always do,
we
too.
Do.
You always sit next to each other.
But he's the worst because I don't know. I mean, I'm like the good girl, so I'm always like, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not going to talk during class. And he's like, something will make him laugh or something. And he'll just always he just makes me laugh. He just makes me laugh. He'll roll his eyes or he'll do something and makes me laugh every time.
He's the best. And finally, Caitlin at Anatomy_Grays wants to know, what's the biggest challenge of balancing your work and your family?
I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It's just not a balance. It's a compromise. At one point, I mean, you mentioned the prison episode and how much we worked. I went to my family and I said, I love you all dearly. My body will be in this bed at night and thank God for technology. Between FaceTime and I'm someone who, being type A, I control everything. So I've got my hands on everything that the kids do and everything else. But I was at work for 10 days straight for 12 hours a day. And if you do the math, you're not at home. So there was no balance in that. I was all work during that time. That being said, when that episode was over, and as you mentioned, we have so many other characters, there was someone else that was leading the charge in terms of the storytelling, I was all in at home. And so, again, it wasn't really a balance. I wasn't half the time at work and half the time at home. And you make that work. And then if you see something that's out of joint, whether it be at work where someone feels like they need more from you or they need less of you or something like that, then you hope and you trust that you're working with people who can come to you and say, ooh, I'm a little worried about this. And then you can have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And the same thing at home. Even though the kids are young, I know them backwards and forwards. So if something's going on, I know about it. Same thing with my husband. And you just stay connected. I think it's about connectivity, and I think that it's in a worldview. I think that what I've realized a lot lately is that you have to be surrounded by people who give you the benefit of the doubt, who are on your side. And if there's an issue, they come to you first and say, I'm having an issue. Because some really crazy, wonky things happen when that doesn't happen.
That's for sure.
And so I think that is sort of a really long-winded answer to, I don't really believe, balance is a lovely thing to aspire to. I just don't know that it's necessarily completely realistic.
No, I know what you mean. And I think part of it is this whole kind of concept of having it all, the old-fashioned having it all. And the thing is, honestly, you can't.
No.
So I think it's also knowing yourself well enough to know when you can't do everything that's being asked of you and being honest about that.
I think it's so interesting these days with, the social media being what it is. I think of Instagram all the time because as I sit there and scroll through what people that I follow are doing,
yeah, me too.
It's always funny because you're like, everybody else's life looks so full of balance. And these fabulous things that everybody's doing.
Do you know people bake, apparently? I just discovered this on Instagram.
What, Betsy, if I baked the day that I bake, whatever day that is out of the 365, then this year I'm going to take a picture of it.
You're damn right you are. Instagram's changed my life because I never do it. And now I'm like, well, damn you people.
Everyone will think I'm a baker.
Right?
From my one baking picture.
From your one baking picture. They'll all want your recipe.
Yes, all my recipes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming and doing this. It's so nice to see you. Okay, so next week on Grey's Anatomy, the episode's called In the Air Tonight. It's very, very aptly named. It involves a plane, 2 of our cast members on a plane, and that's all I'm going to tell you, except you really can't miss it because some big crap goes down here.
I'll tell you, I'm not on the plane.
By the way, you know who's not on the plane? You know who's home actually baking?
Yep.
Is Missy Capshaw here.
So that's me.
But you were definitely not on that plane.
I'm not on that plane.
Scandal.
Neither are snakes.
No, they're not snakes on the plane either.
There's no snakes.
So the 2 big spoiler alerts
much
are
more than you are.
Jessica Capshaw's not on the plane. Snakes are not on the plane.
No.
The 2 characters are on the plane.
Yep.
Now this is Thursday, April 13th at 8 p.m. on ABC. Scandal, you guys, it's the 100th episode of Scandal on April 13th.
Oh, that's awesome.
At 9 o'clock on ABC.
Awesome.
It's called The Decision. This episode is so good and it's so different. And if you're a Scandal fan, you will enjoy it so much because it is like a love letter to the fans, I think. So even if you're not a fan, you deserve a love letter. I deserve a love letter too. We all do. So you should watch it.
For sure.
And at 10 o'clock on Thursday, April 13th, The Catch. This is a wonderful episode. You'll learn a lot about the past of these characters on this episode, and you really should watch it. It's really fun. Thanks to all of you for listening, and especially those of you who subscribe to the podcast on iTunes.com/Shondaland. And as always, a special thanks to EW.com for posting an exclusive first listen of the podcast. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much, EW. And we will be back again with another new podcast in 2 weeks with another very special guest from one of our TGIT shows. In the meantime, this is Betsy Beers saying thank you very much for listening. Stay safe, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.